What's going on, PAX East? This is the Warcraft movie panel. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Michelle Morrow. I'll be your moderator today. Some of you may know me from BlizzCon Virtual Ticket. But today, I actually canceled my Coachella plans to be here because I am so stoked for this movie. I cannot wait. So I'm a giant Warcraft nerd, as a lot of you guys know, and I feel like I've been waiting for this movie for about a decade. It's been a while, so I cannot wait. So let's get this panel started. Without further ado, Horde and Alliance, let's give your loudest battle cries for the director, Duncan Jones, and actor Rob Kaczynski.
Hello. Oh, that's my chair. Excuse me. Excuse me.
All right, well, PAX East, we've got a full house of gamers here, obviously, and the two of you, we're all gamers up here. And as we know, video game adaptations can be challenging at times. And everybody's been looking at the trailers, and they've all looked fantastic. And what I'm kind of wondering with you guys is, Warcraft has such a huge history. It's got 20 years of lore that we've been looking at. What kind of challenges and opportunities did you guys find in adapting this?
You're right. I mean, it's been around for 20 years, and the first real-time strategy orcs and humans was really, that first contact moment between the orc culture and the human culture, and the orcs escaping from Draenor and coming to Azeroth. And I think Blizzard had been working on trying to make a movie for a while, and it took a while to realize that the best place to start is the start.
It's the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely, in the beginning. So that's what we did.
Yeah, I mean, why do video game movies, historically suck? It's because you get, no one's going to argue about Mario Brothers, but it's because games have evolved. So whereas beforehand you would have, let's take Mario Brothers. There's Mario and he's going to go save Peach. Then you would have to go, okay, well, how do we make a 90-minute film out of this? And they'd make up some crappy storyline to put it in there. But now games have evolved the other way around, like Assassin's Creed, like Mass Effect. Like, you can't take 100 hours of storyline and put it into 90 minutes of film. It just doesn't work. So what Duncan and Legendary, Universal, all those guys did that was quite smartly is they're not trying to. It was an opportunity to do an origin story for the universe of that universe, rather than do an origin story of Thrall. It's about introducing the very beginning, this crossover, this first contact moment that we keep talking about, and telling a great story about that, rather than trying to say, hey, here's Illidan and Arthas and everybody. It's about introducing you to this world that you already love and you're familiar with, so that it feels like home, not just to you, but to everybody else who hasn't played the game. And that was the opportunity that we took.
Well, yeah, you think about it. It's so confusing sometimes. A lot of us are self-proclaimed scholars in the Blizzard universe, and I've tried to explain Warcraft to my 73-year-old father many times, and it's gotten confusing very fast. So the fact that you guys have started from the origin story, I think it's quite brilliant. Because a lot of times, with my dad, I tried to explain to him, he'd say, oh, the orcs, they're the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
And I'd say, well, no, I see how that can be seen that way.
Well, I think what Blizzard has always done is take things that we know well, or feel like we know well, whether it's Tolkien or Marvel comic books or the Star Wars universe, and find ways to synthesize ideas that we all love from those and turn them into something new. And I think particularly with fantasy, what they did is they, in my opinion, introduced the idea that there can be heroes on all sides, and not to necessarily see one side as good and one side as evil, but really it's two different perspectives on a conflict and a war that's unavoidable.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, for you, you are a longtime Warcraft player, and you've played both the Alliance and the Horde. He's like, it's okay, I'm wearing an Alliance shirt today.
Sorry, I'm faction sexual, it's fine.
For you, did you feel, as playing Orgrim Doomhammer, did you feel like, from playing the Alliance, did it give you any different perspective on the Horde?
Did it? I don't know if it did, actually. You know, the beauty was I started this game playing Alliance, and I played Alliance for a long, long time, and I've still got Alliance characters. But then, you know, when I went into hardcore raiding, I went into the Horde, and I've stayed Horde since then. And so I've kind of, you know... but the beauty of it is, like, when we go to Goldshire Inn, you know, when we go to the Lion's Pride, or when we're in the throne rooms. Thank you very much, Duncan. That's a great reaction. Thank you very much. Thanks. I write my best jokes for you. Is that when I would go to any of these places in the world, whether it's Blackrock Valley or the Lion's Pride Inn, I would have a familiarity with it. And so to see something like the Lion's Pride or the Stormwind Throne Room, which meant a lot to me, you know, recreated so carefully and so caringly, it was just really wonderful for me to see that you know, there was another guy here who cares as much about the film as I did.
I don't know if you guys got to see it, but Rob did a little tour of the Lion's Pride that we put up online earlier today. So
I actually did
you got a
not
chance
see
to see
that.
It.
Yeah, they told me to tweet it on pain of death at 1 o'clock, and I was like, okay, and they sent me this thing. I'm like, okay, retweet. So yeah, if you go to my Twitter, there is a whole tour of the Lion's Pride Inn at the minute, and Duncan's retweeted it, and then hopefully someone who has more than, you know, my 8 followers will actually go, hey!
Well, you know, there is something about, you know, the video game coming to life and being able to see it more than just the game. I think it really hit me at Comic-Con when there was the extended footage that was played at Comic-Con. Some of you guys may have seen it, some of you may have not, but there was a portion, and it's talked about a lot online, where we got to see the Dark Portal. And in the video game and the experience, when you go through the Dark Portal, it's just a loading screen. You know, it's just you go through and you're in Draenor and now you're on Azeroth, and that's what it is, and it's up to your imagination. I had never personally thought about what it would be like to actually physically travel through that.
Yeah.
What was the thought behind that process for you? Because I'd never imagined that the movie could elevate my own imagination from the video game.
I'm glad you felt that way. One of the things we've tried to do throughout the film is wherever there's action, wherever there's big moments like that, is, you know, try and find a way to also be pushing the sort of the character side of the story through. And going through the portal and traveling to Azeroth happens, obviously, as you would imagine, early on in the story. But it's also a moment where we really start to learn a little bit about Duratan, chieftain of the Frostwolf clan, who's basically a lot of the orc side of things is seen through his eyes, and his relationship with Orgrim Doomhammer, and then also with Draka, his wife, who is pregnant at the time they go through the portal. So you know, it's trying to find a way to create the visual spectacle of that, and then at the same time also create character and start to get the audience to really care about my favorite characters.
Now, are there any characters for you that you have attached to more as you made the movie? You don't have to say Rob.
I do have an Orgrim Doomhammer T-shirt.
He does.
So that's
because I know you love Draka quite a bit.
I do love Draka. I love Draka and Duratan, and my wife is 7 months pregnant, and so we have this whole.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I did it. I did it. It was me. I made her pregnant. I think. No, I definitely did. I definitely did. But Draka and Duratan's relationship and that story and just the, you know, I know it's orcs and I know it's Horde, and yes, they're kick-ass, but at the same time, I love the fact that we see them as rounded characters, and we see the relationship between those two. What is an orc couple like? Well, you're going to find out what an orc couple is like. And you know, because of our situation and what's, you know, I very much, you know, have a kinship with Duratan and Draka.
Do you think you're going to have an orc baby?
I hope so. Not, I mean,
are you going to call it Thrall?
I'm going to call it Tusky.
Tusky. You'll appreciate that.
Just so you guys know as well, we are going to be doing Q&A. If you wanted to line up, I believe it's on either side. We will be doing it in a few minutes. But, oh, here we go. Yes, the enforcers are letting you guys know that there will be Q&A very shortly. So please line up. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, too, is the visual effects. The visual effects that I've seen so far in the trailers have been incredible, especially with magic. Magic is one of those things in fantasy movies that can be a little shaky at times. We worry about that.
Yeah.
But Ben Foster, who plays Medivh, guys, and I was lucky enough to see a cut of the film, and Medivh is, oh my God, he is incredible.
Ben Foster is just a fantastic actor, whatever he does. But he had a lot of fun in this, and he takes things serious in a way that you don't expect, and at times you don't expect. And he wanted to know how to do magic, like real magic, like Warcraft magic. How do I do that? No, yeah, but how do I cast it?
Yeah, but how do I fly?
Well,
How do I fly?
Well, you can't really, Ben. That's going to be special effects, but...
But it says here I fire arcane missiles.
How do you do that?
How do you do it?
I was like, so we had to come up with, we came up with a whole choreography and obviously a language as well, because there's an oral component to spellcasting, as you know. So we had to come up with that and realize it to a level where he felt like, yes, I believe this. I believe that I can cast this spell now.
Does he still believe that?
You'd have to threaten him.
You know
and
what?
then you'd find out.
When you're entering a fantasy realm like this, and there is the tendency for things to get a little bit silly, there is a worry of finding an actor who doesn't do that, but only by that level of commitment that he had to something that we all take seriously we are ready to kill for this game to be good. I mean, you might kill me if it isn't, but it's like when you got someone like Ben Foster, who's one of the best young actors in the world, and he's really committed to the truth, such as there is within this magical realm. That makes a big difference, It really does.
Oh yeah, you have to have conviction if you're going to be casting spells. That's
then it kind of escalates, because an actor of that caliber starts taking it that seriously and really getting into the details of how does this world work. And everyone else says, you know what, I need to take it seriously too. And it really did have a ripple effect. So I'm grateful to Ben for pushing us to have the details of those kind of things at hand, so that the universe was really realized for the actors in a way where they felt like, everything kind of fits together. I understand how this universe operates.
And young Cagdar as well.
Ben Schnetzer, fantastic actor.
Fantastic actor. He really did such a great job in that role as well. Yeah. They mentioned at our Comic-Con panel that we had done that you guys had hired somebody on sets to come and coach them for magic.
Well, that was Terry actually, who
Did
was
he coach the magic as well.
He coached the magic as well. So Terry's amazing. He's a movement instructor and innovator, and he's kind of like Andy Serkis in that way. So the two of them are kind of like the guys in the industry who do that. And he really helped establish and work out what was the movement for orcs. And teaching Rob, and actually you guys had a camp.
We had a whole school. We had a month-long orc camp. Sounds ridiculous. Well, really fun. I don't know, but it.
What do you do in orc camp?
Raiding local villages. And
you pillage. You
resource grab.
Resource grab. Time to work. Like you do. And Terry would just teach us to move like 7 foot tall, 600-pound monsters, and to sit like them, not like this, but to sit like you're the Big Show. You know what I mean? Like to move and think in a different way. And you're talking about a guy who did everything in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. He teaches people how to be apes in Planet of the Apes. He's kind of the movement impresario, and this film wouldn't work, and it does work. The orcs really work. It wouldn't work at all without him and the work that he did in making me big and fat and Ben Foster magical. These guys are the unsung heroes of film that you don't see when the Oscars come around.
And then later on, by extension, he helped Ben Foster come up with the choreography for how do you cast a spell and how do you differentiate one spell from another.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's so much nuance within each one of those.
Yeah.
For you guys, as you've watched this develop from just shooting it and being in the big pajamas and whatnot, and actually seeing it come to life, what moments have it been for you that you saw, oh wow, this is next level? This is the next level for us.
One of the trickiest moments for us was we got ILM on board early on to do our visual effects, and it's crazy. 100 million people have played Warcraft over its 20 years. But you actually, when you start working on something like this, you start bumping into those people and knowing that they're Warcraft players, and they are everywhere. So we went to ILM, we had a meeting with a guy called Jeff White, who's absolutely fantastic, and he basically made the Hulk for the first Avengers movie.
Wow.
He had sort of moved the technology on for that movie, and and we had our meeting with him. He was a big-time Warcraft player. Didn't know it, but found out that he was, and he was like, absolutely, I'm clearing my calendar. Anything I can do, I'm going to do Warcraft.
Nice.
So he was going to basically be on board Warcraft. So the big moment for us when we started production is, I think it took a couple of weeks into shooting before we got our first Orgrim shot. I think Orgrim was the first shot where we got something that was at a level where we could really start to see what it was going to look
we
like.
went and did shots of our faces, and we rehearsed the scene on camera. Yeah.
But I think we'd already gotten into shooting before we actually saw something that was close to a finished shot.
Yeah.
And that was nerve-wracking, because obviously you have this huge production, you have this massive machine which is already ongoing, you've got these incredibly brave souls in their silver pajamas walking around like Terry tells them to, and no one's had actually seen what it's going to look like yet when Rob pretends to be Orgrim.
Yeah, there is that fear, of course, especially when you play like we do. You know, you are wearing silly pajamas. Everyone can see your penis, and you've got your big helmet on, and you're like, oh, I feel like a plum. And you're worried. Thank you very much. That's about the size of the hand you need as well, to be fair. Then there's.
Do you need a hand?
Yeah, thanks. And then, you know, so there was this kind of fear, especially in me, the player, that what if these orcs look really bad? What if what if they look just like, not that the Urukais
like
didn't
Goombas.
look great, but what if they do have, what if the technology hasn't moved on since the Urukais, you know? Like, what if it looks like that? And that those guys were prosthetic, but, you know, we want more. And then we walked onto set one day, and Jeff White, who Duncan was just talking about, showed us a 30-second, 70% finished rendering of my face.
Yeah.
And it just, any fear that I'd had at that point just melted away.
And it actually changed some of how we approach the film. Because at that point, you're being a little bit cautious about, okay, how are we going to present these guys? How close can the camera get to them? And that confidence that we suddenly got, that confidence that we got, meant that we actually start the film. One of the first shots in the movie is a close-up on Durotan, and we just sit on him for, not physically sit on him, the camera is in a close-up for about, over 10 seconds, just lingering and watching his expression as he watches his wife sleep. And those 10 seconds is all it takes in that kind of close-up for the audience to just, melt into his eyes and basically accept this character and say, yeah, I totally get who this person is, and stop seeing it as a monster.
You won't believe that it's not a real person. You just won't. You look at it and you'll go, that's a person. Like from this point on, you won't even think of it as CGI in any way or motion capture. You'll just be like, oh, that's Durotan, yeah. Like it was a mind-blowing game changer for me.
In my head now, I've just got this image of the whole audience at that moment.
That's what everyone will do in the movie theaters when it comes out.
It's going to be like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
If everyone here does do that, and then you look around and see if there's anyone else who did it, you know you were here.
Yeah. You were here. You were at that moment.
When Rob did that real douchey move.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you end up being this 8-foot-tall orc. That's what you're invited, and you're a tall guy anyway. You're 6'2", maybe?
6'1". Yeah.
6'1". All right, I was giving you an inch. That's cool. So you're a tall guy to be an 8-foot orc, and you're in these epic battle sequences. What was it like to shoot those sequences?
I got to say, it was pretty effortless, because the work wasn't on me. The work had been done previously by 1,000 people that made this thing possible, that went to make this film, that had hired the stunt guys, that had hired Terry, that had the props and the locations and the choreography, and everything was kind of set to make our job, because usually when you're filming something like this, you would have a volume, which is a gray room with lines on the floor and cameras, and then you get inserted. But this was one of the first times in the history of film where we had real sets, and they were in a volume, as well. So we could mix. I could do a scene with Dominic Cooper or anybody else. We could mix together and put motion capture characters in the same scene as real-life humans. And that's amazing. And that, from our perspective, meant that this these pajamas that we were wearing, these cameras that we were wearing, everything we were doing, that was just our costume.
Can I just say, one of the things I'm most proud of, and it was just the most fun and most silly, is
it that? Yeah.
is we have all of these amazing people working on the film, fight choreographers, and just sort of giving us these battle scenes and these amazing things and great cool moves. And I just insisted on this one really daft move that I just thought, I've got to get this stupid thing in.
What?
It's an incline headbutt that I make that Orgrim does.
Well, we were like halfway through filming the movie, and we realized that Orgrim, for being the toughest orc in the clan, like being big, strong, tough, scary Orgrim, doesn't really fight much in this film. So we were like, okay, well, let's put in a fight sequence.
He fights a bit.
A little bit, but he fights. We had to do because we had it in this whole day, basically. Duncan just went, well, whatever we're doing, get rid of it, let's fight. And we just ran around and filmed these fight sequences. And one of them, I don't want to. Should we talk about it?
You can talk about it.
Like,
it's funny.
I walked past this yurt, and Dan Cudmore, who was, he's great, by the way. He plays Colossus in most of the X-Men movies, and he's a really great actor. He comes storming out, and I just go, oi! I hit him in the stomach with the doom hammer. I lift him up like that, and then I drop his head on my head and knock him out. No fight choreographer in the world would come up with that, but Duncan did, and it looks awesome.
Use your head.
Use your head, mate. Yeah.
Reverse headbutt. It's the new thing.
So, you know what?
lots
I'm
of
happy.
great bits.
I'm happy. Whatever happens with the film,
As long as that bit's good.
I came up with the incline headbutt.
Yeah, the incline.
So forevermore in fight choreography.
There's lots of things in this film. You know, there's inherent joy in this film because so many people were gamers, were played the game and wanted to make a great film. So whilst, you know, we're not making light in any way that we're telling the story in the way it's meant to be told, there's also a lot of little nods and lot of little fun moments like that in the film which make you just go, oh, this is great.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for this movie, you guys. Just talking about it, I'm just like, oh God, I can't wait. Well, let's open it up a little bit to Q&A. Do we have any Q&A stood up and ready?
Hey, that's good news.
Hey, what do we have? There's some Q&A.
Hi there.
How are you?
Doing pretty well, thanks. How about yourself?
Great.
Very good. Very good. I love the shorts.
Thank you. So in World of Warcraft, there are like the very obvious language barriers between the races. How did you guys approach that in the movie, like especially with them going to Azeroth and everything?
We have a couple of key scenes in the movie. Obviously, it's a first contact story, so where orcs and humans meet for the first time. And we had a language, again, talking about these unexpected Warcraft fans and players in our real world. We approached a couple of people to come up with languages for us, and one was to come up with an orc language that incorporated keywords that we knew that we wanted to use in the film. And this gentleman who does all of the language work in Game of Thrones is a big-time Warcraft player. So again, it's just weird synchronicity all over the place, and a passion for the project that was just unexpected and so delightful that we kept on coming to experts, and they were big-time Warcraft players. It was so he was the guy who came up with our language, and there's a couple of I think there's 3 or 4 key scenes in the movie where that language is used in an interesting way, and there's also some use of key words from anyone who's played Warcraft long enough that they'll get a kick out of.
Zug, zug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next question.
Questions for Duncan.
Hello.
Hello. Quick question regarding the music. Did you take influence from the games, or is it just completely new material?
So again, to our Game of Thrones connection, there's only a couple of them, but there's a second one. Ramin, who wrote the score for our film, also does the Game of Thrones music. What he's done for our film is very different, and we've also, we asked him to incorporate some of the Warcraft game music in certain places where it made sense. So there's a mixture of new material and a couple of call-outs to things that would be, it would just be wrong not to have in there.
I love the fact that there'll be some of that music in as well, but the fact that you're also taking creative license to make this beyond just the video game and create a larger experience within it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's obviously, we are fans of the game, and we wanted to make a movie that I don't know how else to say it other than we wanted to make a movie where it felt where fans of Warcraft could feel like they've gone home. You know, they've gone to a place that they recognize. You know, the Lion's Pride thing, which hopefully you'll get a chance to look at. You will know that. You will recognize that place, and you get that feeling throughout the movie where you go to places you're like, oh my god, I know this. I wish the camera would just go over there because I know what's over there. Yeah. You know, and I want that experience. But at the same time, I also want, you know, this has to be a film which appeals to an audience beyond that. But I think if we can make that audience feel at home, I'm hoping that it will also, you know, you got excited and loved Warcraft as a game for such a long time because it was a universe that you wanted to be in. And I think if we can deliver that on the movie side, as a movie, it's going to be a universe that everyone wants to be in.
Yeah, if I can get my dad to start playing World of Warcraft and recruit a friend him, I'm all about it. All right. Next question, please.
Hi. Oh,
Hi.
My goodness. Okay. I guess my question is, actors all have different opinions about source material in terms of how much they want to let it influence their performance or be a part of their research before a production. I'm curious, as it's great to see how much passion you both have for this game going into the project, and that hearing stories about that is really amazing. What percentage of the people on set would you say did go to the source material either before being involved or after being involved? And do you have any like teaching moments or really funny stories where maybe you were speaking the language from the viewpoint of someone who had played the game with someone who didn't speak the language? You know what I mean?
It's a great question.
I think I was always having to check myself on that front.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's much point me explaining my experiences as, you know, at various levels of the game to Travis Fimmel. I don't think that's really what he cares about. I think he'd rather understand the character from a more objective sort of character side of things. But he's a lot of fun, and although he may not have wanted to sort of look too much into what Warcraft was before he played the part, we cast him because we kind of knew that he was Lothar. So it actually made it a lot easier than trying to bring him up to Lothar's speed.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I mean, there's not been an actor in the history of film that's ever been so ready to play a character as I have. Like 10, like, I mean, a decade of WoW and just like being an orc. I'm actually an orc death knight. You know, that's what I've been forever, since 3.1. Like, there you know, no one has ever done, I don't care if it's Christian Bale, no one's ever done as much research as I've done for this. But I didn't ever want to sit there and ever be the guy on set who'd be like, no, Toby, orcs don't eat like that. That's not how they work. But the encouraging thing for me was that I didn't have to, you know, because these characters were well drawn. So when great actors like Ben Foster and Toby Kebbell, who are two of the best in the damn world, create a character that is already they fill in the colors of something that is already well drawn. What became another relief to me was that 3 months into filming, I would look at these guys and be like, yeah, you guys nailed it. I didn't even need to do anything. They really got it, you know, and as the player that I am, I'd be like, that's Medivh.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Who knows what he does?
Yeah, it might not be scary.
Yeah.
Who knows? No spoilers.
No snaps.
Awesome. Great question. Thank you. All right, next up.
I must say, first of all, just let me say, your acting is as good as Benedict Cumberbatch. I really do think you're that good. So, anyway, fair enough. Thank you. My question to you is this: in an era where we see a lot of modern movies that are so like kind of jam-packed with CGI, you know, massive stunt scenes, massive effects, how hard was it for you guys to take the emotion in the orcs, and not just the orcs, the humans and every character, and really bring that to the screen and bring that out so well that people were just falling in love with the trailer and the movie?
Well, from the orcs' perspective, It really wasn't difficult at all. There was, like, we were talking about that 30-second skit where we saw, you know, they brought in a mostly rendered version of my face, and I saw that no matter how subtle what I did, it came through, and it came through strong. You know, that gave me no fear in how subtle, or just by thinking something, it would change the face. And that was something that I'd never seen before. And, you know, when you're looking at that 10 seconds of Duratan in the movie, you'll see a soul in there. You know, you're going to see Toby Kebbell's performance entirely. So technology has moved to a point now, at least from our perspective, where it's not a hindrance, motion capture. You know, it's not the same as wearing prosthetics, which you have to act through. This thing simply, it was 100% every single thought that I wanted to think comes through on Orgrim's face. And I've never seen anything like this. Apes came close. But this was not
Although,
only helped.
You got to admit, there was one moment where it was a little distracting.
There was a moment.
And that was when Clancy Brown had to ride a Frostwolf.
Yeah. There's a scene in the trailer where you see where we're standing over Westfall and Clancy rides up. And you know, when you see the Kurgan in his 60s now, you know, in his pajamas, ride up on a blue...
On his little rocking horse.
On a little rocking horse. on a rocking horse, being dragged by 3 crew members. And he goes, "Come on, Frostwolves, let's go!" And then goes, "Let's go!" And so there are elements.
Those like 3 lines he did took us about 4 hours.
Yes, it was really challenging. So there are elements, but I gotta say, from a performance standpoint, it was as difficult or as easy as doing it without any makeup or prosthetics or CGI at all.
And Rob as well, but because Rob was so familiar with the lore and with what we were trying to do, I didn't really need to talk to him much about who Orgrim Doomhammer was. But with the rest of the cast, you know, a lot of the time we didn't really get into lore. It was more about, you know, what had we, through the script, decided and managed to make these characters into, what were their motivations, and, you know, all the stuff that you really, you know, as a director, you need to be able to communicate and talk to your actors about so that they understand their motivations. And it's not even about how do I get from this scene to the next scene. It's about who is this person, what do they care about, what do they want to have happen, you know, from their perspective, and get them to understand and all of those different perspectives to come together to tell the story. So it really, you know, when you work with, I was very privileged with this film that Warcraft was something that, Warcraft is really the superstar of this movie. And that allowed me to work with actors who may not necessarily be household names, but they are such fantastic people and at their craft that it really made the process really enjoyable.
Great question, thank you. Yes, and it also goes to the fact that it just made me remember that you cast Daniel Wu, who is essentially like the Brad Pitt of China, so everybody knows, as Gul'dan. So he is the sex symbol of China, yet he is the ugliest orc ever.
It is so much fun walking anywhere with Daniel Wu because his fan base is huge, and you just don't. I mean, I didn't know that until I actually knew Daniel before we did Warcraft, and it was you know, getting the chance to hang out with him it's a lot of fun.
I mean, this is the thing, like, he really is an icon.
Yeah.
Like, he's an
a huge
actual
star.
legend
He's
in
a huge
China.
star. So I take that back about
never
superstars.
know.
Yeah.
Daniel is a superstar.
Daniel was, but you would never know. He's the most humble guy.
Yeah,
and
he really is.
literally, okay, so obviously we all had to walk in a difficult manner and being an orc was tough. But Daniel had to spend the movie like this, being Gul'dan and walking like this.
Rob used to follow him around like that.
I used to follow him around, like, just like, are you going to poop? But he had to buy new trousers or pants because his thighs got so much bigger from all that exercise.
Yeah, it's true.
And he never moaned, and he was the only star in the cast.
That's incredible.
Dominic Cooper's going to write you hate mail.
It's like, I'm the star. And Dominic Cooper, I'm the star. Hi, Dom.
All right, next question.
Hi, guys. First of all, I have to say to Duncan, I love your Portal shirt. It's like the best Portal shirt I've seen.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story.
No, you go first. Yeah, I have to say I'm really happy that you are involved with this project because it's really cool to see people so passionate about like the source material, and you don't see that a lot in video game movies. And I was wondering how hard it was to make this film a reality, because there's been talk about it for like years, and nobody knew, no one thought it was really possible. So it's really cool to see it happen.
You know, I was incredibly fortunate. When I got involved, I think they had already been through the hardships of not getting the film made, and there was kind of a pause, a bit of a stall process as they worked out how they were going to move forward. I had been tracking it as a fan, purely as a fan, knowing that Sam Raimi was involved. I wanted to see the movie, and I'd been sort of, you know, because I worked in the industry, I was like always saying, you know, what's going on? When are they shooting? What's happening? And then I heard that he had decided, you know, to part ways and go do Wizard of Oz. And I said, well, can I at least, you know, can I read the script? I know I just finished source code, and I was, you know, really wanted to know, you know, what. Thank you. I really wanted to know, you know, what the film was going to be like. So I managed to sort of get a sneaky look at the script, and I was like, oh, it's good, but there's something really wrong with it. And it was the fact that it was human heroes against orc villains, and to me that was a fundamental misstep. And I can totally understand why Blizzard were like pulling the reins on it, saying this is not the film we want to make. I didn't talk to them. I basically worked out my pitch. I went in and pitched it, and it was absolutely that. And it was totally synchronous with what I think they were stalling on. So I said, look, this has got to be a film that shows the heroes on all sides. You've got to, as much as you can, make the film half human, half orc, you know, as far as what we portray. And I think Blizzard were, you know, I know Chris Metzen's talked about this before, feeling like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. And so for me, it was kind of easy, because when I went in and made my pitch, everyone was so relieved that we were all on the same page. It kind of things just started happening.
Well, thank you for saving this movie.
All right. Next question.
Hi. So the last 3 questions were my questions as well. But CGI is really prevalent in a lot of movies nowadays. When did you make the, when did you decide, say, okay, we're going to do this amount live props and this amount CGI, just to make it so it's not look fake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think early on we decided that the orcs were never going to work. It's because of the reason that I just because of what I just talked about, as far as I wanted the audience to be able to spend a lot of time with the orcs in a very intimate way, where they really understood these orcs as characters, as Orgrim, as Durotan, as Draka. You know, I wanted the audience to be close and understand them as characters. That was never going to work, in my opinion, with prosthetics. You know, I needed to be able to get performance moments and nuances out of them that a load of latex rubber was just going to cover up, and it was never going to work. So motion capture really has reached a level now. You look at Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movie, and even Gollum, which was a long time ago now when you think about it, but it's reached a level where it was absolutely going to work for the characters. And if we were going to do so many characters that way, that's when building sets became so important. Because if we did a CG environment and CG characters, then you're in the realm of Final Fantasy or something like that, you know? And we didn't want to do that. So big set builds became a big part of the production. Everyone gets nervous, you know, because obviously, okay, we're going to build a lot of big sets. We're going to have a lot of special effects. This is a big movie, and it is a big movie. But I believe that it's paid off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, great question. All right, next up.
All right. First off, I want to say thank you, guys. I live World of Warcraft and Warcraft. I'm so excited for this movie. So thank you for taking care of what we all love and making something awesome. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. June. Let's have this conversation again on June 10th.
Okay. I will set the date. A question, Rob. Your understanding of your character in Warcraft and the classes of Warcraft, did you really see that come out in like how you looked at certain characters? Like, oh, that guy's like, he's definitely a mage.
That guy's definitely a warlock.
Yeah, and like, did you bring your own character to that? And also, Duncan, can I shake your tiny hand?
I think it's important you do.
Okay, I would really like to do that.
Yes.
Thank you.
That chair, I don't know. I'll say this. This is one of those fundamental things that you have to recognize that there have to be changes in. Because, in the game, you're a druid, you're a warrior, they're very specific. But, I am wielding the Doomhammer, and that's traditionally, it's Thrall's weapon, he's a shaman, but it's my weapon, and in my hands it's a bloody hammer. And I'm a warrior, kind of thing. And you look at Gul'dan and you think, okay, so Gul'dan is a warlock. But actually, you know what? He's also pretty mighty himself, So there are crosses of characters here. We do represent quite a lot of them, but unfortunately, you're not seeing a Tauren in this movie, for example. Or we're not there yet. So
please go see this movie, because if I get to make another movie, I get to put a Tauren
exactly.
in it. So please make a movie.
But this is where we found ourselves in telling the best origin story for WoW that we could, which includes orcs and humans. And you see glimpses of dwarves and night elves and so forth, and Draenei. But if we do it right, and you all love the movie, and everyone else goes and watches the movie, and we make $1 billion, then we get to make Warcraft 2 and 3, and then we get to talk about Illidan and Demon Hunters, and we get to talk about Arthas and Frost Knights. So you get to do all that stuff. There is a scope for a huge world out there. You could do a TV show about SI7, and the Defias Brotherhood. You could do that. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could do if we do this film right and you love it. So whilst whatever might not be represented here, we will represent in the future.
Victory for the Forsaken.
For the Frost Wolves.
Nice.
All right, next question, please.
Hello.
Hi.
Man, this one's for Robert. Could you give us your battle cry? Like stand up and give us a good for the horde. Come on, let's go. Come on. No day like today.
Okay. For the horde!
Thanks. Thank you.
In my dreams, when he's 70 years old, he's going to be going to conventions doing that.
For Social Security!
Like Galaxy Quest style.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next question, please.
Hi. So Orc Camp, I want to go to there, but I can't. So can you walk us through what a typical day for you at Orc Camp was like? And as a director, was there ever a time that you just came in there and was like, what the hell are they doing?
Well, he did a bit of Orc Camp himself,
I went and did the training just because if I was going to ask these lot to do it, I felt like I needed to put the silver pajamas on at least once.
Nice.
Not on camera, it's just on camera, but not in the film.
You may see it one day. A typical Orc Camp day would, you get there at 7 or 8 or whatever time we'd start, and you'd get in your pajamas, you'd correlate, you'd do the whole thing, and then we would have exercises, character building stuff, figuring out who we were, how we sit, how we talk, how we do anything, and it would all be, and we would start mapping the character to our body, because you've got to understand that you've got all these dots all over you. And then these dots go through a computer, and you see these dots these dots basically create a stick figure. And then what ILM would do would map Orgrim to these dots. So we would figure out how he would stand, and we would sit, if I would, for example, if I would stand like this, it would look wrong. This might look right, but that might look wrong again. So there would be very subtle things, and we would just play with the live stream of what we were doing constantly to find out how we wanted them to move and how
because weight is hard to communicate. And you have to show that in the body movement.
And
right?
there were also specific character beats. There wasn't just a uniform. There was a central thing about being an orc, about being heavy in the center and moving like you're dragging an anchor all the time. And there's no quick movements. There's no sitting like this. It's so. But like Duratan moved with it, whilst I would be like this the whole time, like looking out from under my brow with my shoulders hunched. Duratan was much more upright because he was a more intelligent character, essentially. And then you would have Gul'dan moving like he's trying to poop. You'd have and there would always be these very subtle gradations within the characters themselves. And it just became a month of figuring that out so that when we stepped on set, we were those characters without trying to figure it out, you know?
Yeah, so Orc Camp essentially made it a beautiful acting exercise.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, it took away, you know, an actor can hide behind their costume. And they can hide behind their makeup, and they can hide behind a beard or whatever, but with motion capture, that's gone. You're completely vulnerable. If you're in a scene and you go like this, as Rob, and you scratch, that's, you've just been found out. You know what I mean? You can't hide from the camera, because it's on you 100% of the time. So you need to be in character, 100% committed to it, and know every single little facet of anything you do has to be real. And it was the most challenging and rewarding and satisfying thing I've ever done. And I would augurum it up for the rest of my life.
and I would add that it's exceptionally difficult work for everyone who played an orc, because with the motion capture characters, you don't always know where the camera's going to be. A lot of the time, actors know, okay, we're doing a wide shot. I can play it a little fast and loose here, and then they really turn it on when you're in the close-up. Because of motion capture, you know, sometimes the camera's going to move around in ways that are unexpected, just because, you know, a close-up might work better for a moment, and we can do that with motion capture. Yeah. Whereas with live action, you've got what you shoot.
And the volume is recording you all the time.
So these guys had to give that close-up performance all the time.
Yeah. It was fun.
Thank you so much.
Awesome question. Thank you. All right, next up, please.
So I had a question in regards of the story. I've just started playing World of Warcraft. In fact, I'm so early in the process. I created my character, and that's about it. Would you say that this film could act as a good starting point for the large lore that this universe has, or?
It's exactly the starting point for the lore that this universe has. That's what the most intelligent thing about this film is that it's not trying to, you know, we're not, I'm not going to say that film's name. Let's just not impugn any other movies, but we're not going to start in the middle. We're not going to start at the end. We're going to start at the beginning and introduce you guys to a world which feels like home, and people that aren't so familiar with the game to a place that will become it, that they want to make theirs, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So whether you started playing 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or tomorrow, it doesn't really make a difference. It's a great story in a great world that you'll like going to.
Nice. And I want to be 100% honest with everyone, and give you the disclaimer. There are going to be moments in the film where our film veers off from lore in subtle, small ways. I generally think smaller, subtle ways. It does happen at times in the movie.
Durotan's a girl.
Every and any time we do that, it's because both myself and all of the team that I'm working with, at Legendary and at Blizzard, felt like this was going to make for a better movie.
Cool. There's so many different inconsistencies as well in the lore as you look at a 20-year period. There's a lot that has been changed in World of Warcraft.
There were contradictions in the original inception of it that had to change, and what we've tried to do is, look, we know the audience we're dealing with. You know that on MMO Champ or anything else, there's going to be people going, oh, but they didn't do this! Or he had a beard in the film. There's going to be people that are going to be so mad about tiny changes, but I promise you, these changes were made by people who know how to make a great film and tell a good story. And these changes, if they hadn't been implemented, would have meant that we had another Mario Brothers. So, these
God, you're really hard on that
film. I really hate that film. Am I honestly meant to believe that John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins are related?
that was the biggest.
Are you kidding
That was the
me?
biggest leap of
imagination. I mean, that's not even the start of it. Dennis Hopper. You know he was still doing drugs then. You can tell. It's like it's just These guys came in and...
I love working with Rob. It's always like...
But these guys came in, and like we said before, I think, from my perspective, which is your perspective, if it hadn't been for Duncan and Stuart and the guys at ILM, then I don't think we'd have the film that we want. And it's only by making these changes and these guys have come in that we are going to get that.
You have to go back and start at the beginning, and good for you for starting at this point right now. Are you Horde or Alliance?
I'm pretty sure I'm the Alliance.
Pretty sure. All right,
sure.
Cool. Some Alliance love. All right, man.
If you need security getting out of here, we'll organize something.
All right, we have a time for a few more questions.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm really glad you guys are here. There tends to be with video game companies or companies in general being very restrictive about their brands. For instance, in Wreck-It Ralph, there's Bowser, and apparently Nintendo was like, "Oh, Bowser doesn't drink coffee like that." And I was wondering if there were any moments where you were sort of flabbergasted, where Blizzard stepped in and was like, "No, don't, no."
It was a long process, and like I said, we came into it very much in sync. There are obviously going to be moments where my sensibilities as a filmmaker are not necessarily going to be completely in sync with what they wanted to do. But we were all kind of grown up about it, and sometimes sometimes I went with what they needed, and sometimes they went with what I needed. It's not a science. It's definitely a collaborative artistic process, making any movie. But absolutely, when you're working with someone else's baby, and Warcraft is 20 years of incredibly amazing work, hard work that Blizzard have done, and creativity, they have this just amazing thing that they've created, and we want to treat it with as much respect as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. All right, up next.
Hello. So in the Warcraft universe, obviously there are a lot of different facets of storytelling, as we've talked about today. This is the next major one. Were there any points along the process where you really had to second guess yourself on whether you should focus more on servicing the audience outside of the Warcraft community, or more so within the source material and, I guess you could say, fan service? Also, are you prepared for BlizzCon to potentially be shredded apart by Red Shirt Kid?
I will always, from now on, go to BlizzCon with Rob. Mm-hmm. He is my intellectual
I
protection
can handle
from
Red
all
Shirt
things
guy.
law.
Yeah.
I can handle him.
I want to see that battle.
Yeah. I'll answer any question.
What was the first part? Sorry, now I'm having nightmares about Red Shirt Man.
But were there any points where you kind of second guessed yourself about catering? Yeah.
Yes. Not second guess myself. I mean, I am two things. I am a games player and a fan of Warcraft, and I am also a filmmaker. And my responsibilities as a filmmaker is to tell a story which works in its own right. So that was never something I wasn't trying to do. I think the trick was trying to comfortably fit in as much extra material, Easter eggs, and things that would fill out the Warcraft experience that go beyond just telling the story, and doing it in a way that it wasn't distracting from the story. But that's the puzzle-solving part of making movies, and a unique challenge to a movie like this. I mean, I guess I just enjoy those kind of problems, because I keep giving myself problems with the movies I make. I mean, Moon was one actor and playing multiple parts. That was a challenge. Source Code was telling the same story again and again multiple times and trying to keep it interesting. And this one was deal with this, massive entity and turn it into a movie after no one has really made a great movie out of a video game. So I liked the challenge of it, and hopefully I've delivered. But, you'll tell me in June.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you very much.
We'll see you at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have a red shirt?
Yeah. Next up.
All right. So another guy asked my first question about sequels, because I would love to see the Lich King be put into like a motion picture, because that's one of my favorite stories. But my question today was, there was a rumor floating around on the internet that if you bought a ticket, you would they would be giving the expansions and like in-game stuff. So
Right.
Is there any like promotional thing going on?
I genuinely don't know. I am very happy and grateful that all the marketing side of things is being taken care of by people much more able than I. And if that happens, I think it would be wonderful because I think it's a great way to introduce people, to
think it's a
the
smart
world.
move.
But whatever happens, happens. I don't
You
know.
should definitely go on the World of Warcraft's Twitter and ask them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, I think we have time for 2 more questions. All right.
All right, so with every new World of Warcraft game, there's like an amazing cinematic trailer. How did you guys feel like being able to not create a trailer, but like a whole entire movie, just like with the CGI, the visual effects? Like, how did you feel about that? Like,
Rushed. Because they have a year to do like to do a minute, and we only had 3.5 years to do a whole movie.
Let me ask you something. Like, how would you feel?
Oh,
like, 'cause
stressed.
That's pretty much how we felt. Like,
Yeah.
because we are you,
Yeah.
and we got to do it. You know what I mean? And that love for it, that kind of every day of going, oh shit, I'm Warcraft. That was like, that was every single day for me, and for you, it was probably, oh God, I'm the director.
No. I tell you what, the best experience, your experience of being Orgrim was my experience of walking on film sets, where basically I'd seen concept artwork worked up based on things and places from the game that I'd been in, and then we have this beautiful concept artwork, and then I'm standing on the streets of Stormwind, or I'm in the Lion's Pride, or I'm walking through Elwyn Forest, or I'm going from one place to the next, and these are actual places I can go and hit my head against a tree if I want to. I mean, it's just.
I think I saw you do that a couple of times.
Sometimes. But it's just such an amazing experience. Look, making movies is hard work, but it's so much fun. And when you get to make movies on this scale, not many people get to do it. And if you don't enjoy doing that, then why the hell are you making movies?
Yeah.
This is this is what you want to do.
Well, Thank you very much for taking the challenge. With the trailers, you've done a wonderful job with it too. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we have time for one more question. You're last, sir.
Hi. So first off, thank you. And so my question is, how much inspiration do you or the artists think you took from the actual game in terms of like scenery? Like we saw glimpses of Dalaran, Stormwind, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
How much do you think that's going to transpose into the actual movie?
A huge amount. I mean, we like I said earlier, we worked with Blizzard right from the start and very closely with them. In fact, one of the guys that I'm most relieved that we got to work with is a Chinese artist by the name of Wei Wang, who he has an amazing story. He was a fan based in China, didn't speak a word of English, had started submitting illustrations that he'd done of orcs and characters from Warcraft, and they were just amazing. I mean, they were like, I don't know, I don't want to put anyone in trouble, but better than anything that Blizzard was doing, in my opinion. Wei Wang's stuff is phenomenal. Sorry, I know I shouldn't judge, but Wei Wang is phenomenal. Anyway, Wei was basically brought into Blizzard and started working for them and started doing design work for them, doing illustrations. And early on, I said, look, if we could get him working on our film and basically concepting out our orcs, he was the one who came up with a way to make real the really over-the-top anatomy of orcs and actually still make it work in the real-world environment. And his illustrations are, I think they're touring somewhere right now.
They're
I
in
think
several books as well.
Yeah,
a lot of the Blizzard
he's
Entertainment
phenomenal.
books.
If you look up online his stuff, he's just phenomenal. And being able to work with him from Blizzard was really what made the film possible, I think.
He's the best Wang. For sure.
Out of all the Wangs.
Of all the Wangs. He's by far my favorite.
I think that ending on Wang is the best way to end this panel, clearly. Thank you, everybody at home, for watching the live stream. We really appreciate it. And Duncan and Rob for joining. Thank you so much. For Azeroth, guys, right?
Can I just say as well, I've wanted to come to PAX. I've wanted to come to PAX since before the first PAX actually happened, because I was a Penny Arcade fan. And this is my first PAX, and I'm so glad that I finally got to be here.
Well, thank you guys so much. This is the end of the live stream, but I hope you guys aren't going anywhere, because we actually have a PAX